Well, hello there, McFly subscribers. I'm here with a tabletop review of my Risen 5-weight fly rod. This is the ITB, which stands for In the Beginning. So this was the first, I believe what they said was this is the first rod that they came out with. And it is a good one, it's a really good one. A lot of you know, if you've seen my reviews before, that I am very extensive on how much info I put in the reviews. As in, I've got a couple pages here of talking notes, and I will use every single one of those plus some. I talk a lot, and I go through a lot about the rods. These are long reviews. This is probably a half hour or more for the review, possibly a little shorter. But that's generally how they are. They're long reviews. But if you guys want the short of it, just right off the bat, I just want to let you know, I love this rod. This is a really good rod. So if you're just coming here to figure out if you should buy it or not, and you don't want to listen to everything about it, yes, buy it, you will like it. One last thing that might help you in your purchase, on a quick purchase of not wanting to sit and listen to the whole review, is that this is a medium action rod. So this is a good all-around rod. It can do pretty much anything, from nymphing to streamers to even dry fly, and actually mostly dry fly. I would say there's more in the slower range of the moderate. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for a streamer rod. I think Risen has a really good one, a different one that is really good besides this, the ITB. The ITB is a little slower action, which means that it bends a little further down into the backbone, and therefore gives you, you got to slow down your cast, and it gives you a nicer, I find more accurate but nicer presentation, but it doesn't necessarily power things out there. So if you've got a big heavy streamer, it's not really the rod for you if that's what you're looking for. If you're primarily a streamer, large streamer fishing person. It doesn't mean you can't do it with this. It just means that there are better options, and Risen does have, I believe they call it the Genesis, and it's actually less expensive than this rod, but it's a little faster action. That thing's a beast. But anyway, let's get into the full review of this. Again, if you're going just for a quick thing and you don't want to be more than 5 minutes in, yes, buy the rod, you'll like it. I've got links in the description section, so that way you can buy it. Also, I've got a discount code right off the bat. I want to let you know, so you save 15% off. They offered that to all my subscribers, and that's just type in McFly when you go into their website, and you just type in McFly at checkout, and it'll give you 15% off of everything they sell. It's not just rods, they sell other stuff too. So, okay, let's get into this review, the full nitty-gritty, deep review of this rod that's going to last a while. Okay, so grab a cup of coffee, like I've got here. Mine's actually tea, but grab coffee or whatever you drink, and sit back. So first off, the specs. This rod is the 9-foot 5-weight, and it's 3.6 ounces, which is that's not a heavy rod. It's actually quite light. There are lighter 5 weights out there for sure, but there's plenty of very heavier, much heavier 5 weights. In fact, heavier 5 weights that are a much more expensive rod. Okay, so this is a pretty light rod, which means that while casting, you're not going to necessarily throw your shoulder out by casting all day long. You can cast this for a while. Okay, we'll get into more of that into the action, but it is a rather light-ish rod. Okay, but here's the specs of all their lineup of the ITB. The ITB comes in a 7-foot 6-inch 3-weight, which is 2.9 ounces, 8.5-foot 4-weight, which is 3.4 ounces, 9-foot 5-weight, which is this, which is 3.6 ounces, 9-foot 6-weight, which is 3.8 ounces, a 10-foot 7-weight. So it's interesting that they went 9-foot through most of this, except for the 7-weight, which they went 10-foot. And that actually makes sense to me, and I'll tell you why. 7-weight is generally one of the more common for spay fishing or switch fishing. Basically, if you're going to be casting swinging streamers all day long, you want a little bit longer. That actually will probably help with the moderate action of this rod. It will give it a little more oomph. Get out there, and it allows you to easily do those spay casts all day long. I don't know much about all that, so let me know if I'm don't quote me on all this. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I believe that's why they did that, because they don't have a 9-foot 7-weight. But generally for 7 weights, that's usually what people do with 7 weights. So 10-foot 7 weight, that is 4.5 ounces, and then a 9-foot 8 weight, which is 4.2 ounces. Okay, so they do have even larger rods. I really like this 5 weight. This is all I fished is the 5 weight of the ITB. I haven't fished the other weights. I imagine that 3 weight is awesome for small creeks. The way that this action works, I would think small creeks, small trout, just small, dry fly fishing. I would love that rod. I think I'd probably end up buying one of those next. I think that's what I want to get. So that 3 weight will be awesome because of the slow action of this rod. The action is medium to medium slow. Okay, so this is really a very slow rod. So I'm going to put up some footage of me casting it. You can see it bends in very far into the backbone of this rod. The spine of the rod will actually flex a little bit, and it gives you a little bit, in my opinion, a little more accurate of a cast, especially at shorter distances. Fast action rods I find are best for having a lot of line out. You strip out a lot of line, you've got, 100-foot casts, you're going to have enough bend into that rod to get it out there. But when you only have 10 feet of line out, a lot of times you're not feeling a lot of that bend. Of course, it depends on the line that you're using, but you're not going to feel a lot of the bend into the rod until you've got enough line out to create the weight to be able to push that rod. This can handle a fair amount of line out, so you can still cast pretty far. But the nice thing about slower action rods, again, this is medium technically, but it is a medium slow in my opinion, is that you can cast shorter distance. So it allows you to get in pretty tight to a spot if you're not going to spook the fish, get in there close and make pretty accurate casts very close. But then again, you've also got the ability to strip out a little more line and get out there pretty far. I will say though, between a moderate action or slow action, you are going to get a little more distance off of a fast action. But let's be honest, almost all fly fishing is not distance casting. That's, unless you're out trying to win an award for a distance contest on casting, you're just not going to use 100-foot casts very often. You just don't do it. I personally, about 95% of my fishing is done within about 30 to 40 feet. I mean, it's not very far at all. And many times it's in the 20-foot or even less range, so I'm just doing quick little roll casts. The moderate action also allows for roll casting a little better. I do actually like to roll cast a moderate action rod because you can get a nice, really good bend in that rod, which allows you to just shoot the line out there a little better for some reason. Something about a faster action rod just doesn't seem to snap as well with a roll cast, so I really like roll casting with this rod. Moderate action, medium action to slow action rods, I think, are really where, if you could only buy one rod, get a medium action rod. And the reason why is, fast action rods, just like I said, you're not going to be able to fish very, very slow with them, and you're not going to be able to fish very short casts. You've almost got to power those. A lot of these fast action rods, you just got to put a lot of power into them to get them to bend. And that not only makes your shoulder sore, it also kind of hurts. If you're learning to cast, it kind of hurts your timing. A lot of times when you've really got to put some oomph into it, you're pushing it out there a little too fast for what you need to do. So this allows you to slow down, get your timing down right, and it also allows for more precise casts. But what I like about it is it allows you to fish dries very, very well. I would say this primarily is a very good dry fly rod. Okay, if you're looking just for a dry fly rod, this will be it. This is a really good rod for that because of that moderate action. A really good nymph rod as well because of that roll casting. You're doing almost all roll casting with nymphing. And so with that ability to roll cast, that's where, moderate action really shines. I like it a lot because it allows you to nymph even bigger nymph styles, because it has enough power to get out there with the bigger nymph rigs where, you've got, heavy indicator, a couple heavy flies, and you're trying to get out there. This will still get that out there. But also some light streamer action. Again, like I said before, I would not necessarily throw a big, heavy weighted streamer, okay? This is not really what I would call the best for bass fishing necessarily if you're going to be fishing something really large, right? Like big poppers or something with a lot of weight to it. Small clousers, fine, but once you really have, big dumbbell eyes, a lot of weight to a fly, the sculpin heads that are really heavy, anything like that, I would say this does have a little trouble. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't say it has trouble. It just doesn't do it as well as something with a little fast action, because then at that point you're already bending into the action of the rod with something a little heavier at shorter distance, if that makes sense. So once you get a little more line out there, it almost becomes too much for the rod. It's not going to break it. It's not going to be too much, but it's not really a heavy streamer rod, if that makes sense, okay? So let's move into the price, guys. This is where I really like this rod, is because of the price. It is a very good price. From the 3 to 6 weight, so this one specifically is a 5 weight, so it's in this, it's $149. So $150 basically, guys. Now that's a good price, guys, and especially considering that this is about half the money as most of the least expensive offerings from most of the major brands, okay? So for instance, Sage sells, I think, a $300 rod. Okay, their least expensive rod is $300. Now that is a little faster action, so if you are primarily a streamer fishing rod, that might do a little better for you. But in the long run, the overall fishing, okay, this is a better rod. I would rather fish this. If I had both of those rods, I would pick this up before I would pick up that rod. I would rather fish with this one. This is the rod that I would pick up. If I had both of those laying there and I was going to go dry fly fish or nymph fish, it would be this one specifically. But Sage sells $800, $900 rods. G. Loomis sells, I think, an $1,100 rod. So obviously we're comparing apples to oranges here, but $150 is usually where someone can kind of afford it. I get it's still really expensive, okay, guys, I get it. It is expensive, but you're getting quality. This is not a Walmart brand rod. Yes, you can step into Walmart, pay $50 and get a full setup. I think Bass Pro sells a full setup with line and everything for $100. Okay, but they're not good. They're okay. They are fishable. You can use them. But once you really get into fishing, you're going to want to step up to something that's higher quality. And this is higher quality. This is good quality. This is actually as good or better than some of the main brand, like I had said, main brand rods. Okay, but you're not paying the $300 to $800 for them. Redington is a good example of inexpensive rods for a good price, and I believe that they've got some good offerings in the lower end range. But I still find this rod better. If you're going to spend $150, actually, if you're going to spend under $200, I find this rod to be better than a lot of what even Redington can offer. So the 7 and 8 weight, if you're going to go a little heavier, it's $159, okay? Where I think that this rod shines is really going to be in the 3 to 6 weight anyway. So I'm just going to call this a $150 rod. But if you do want an 8 weight that's a little more moderate, slower action, or even that 7 weight, then that $159, okay? At first when I got it, I thought it would be a backup rod because of the price, okay? So I was still bringing my Sages, I was bringing some other rods with me, and now I just picked up this rod and go, because this is my main rod. And sometimes I'll bring something else just as a backup, possibly in case something happens. I am stupid and hit a tree or something while casting and break it, then I can continue fishing. That's what I mean by a backup rod. But this is definitely going to be a main rod. It's a very high quality rod. Again, because of the moderate action though, you are going to be mainly, this is a great trout rod. All around trout fishing, I would say excellent with this rod. Because again, dry fly and nymphing, which is mainly what you're going to be doing with those, and then smaller streamer. And really in reality for trout fishing, unless you're on a boat and you're fishing a 6 or 7 or 8 weight, you're not going to be throwing a lot of big streamers. Some people do for big browns. They'll be on a boat and hit the banks with with the big streamer. And that, you know, it can do it. If you're doing the 8-weight, I'm sure it'd be fine with that. But there are better options out there for, again, like I said, big streamers. But for main, you know, if you're wading, if you're even in a boat, but you're fishing, you know, nymphing or dry fly fishing, mainly trout, you know, type of fishing, this is really one of the better rods out there. I would definitely highly recommend it, especially for one of your first setups, because that moderate action allows you to get your timing down. And I think that this would do great for you. It's also good for I've been fishing out here. I just moved to Texas. There's not a whole lot of trout fishing. There is some in the Guadalupe. I've been fishing for small bass and sunfish and things like that. In fact, I caught a catfish on this, and it's performed great. And actually, I'm bringing this rod mainly for that too, because again, accurate casts. I'm able to cast under bushes or under trees, low-hanging trees. I'm able to. It's very accurate and very good for pretty much all that kind of fishing, but mainly definitely a great trout rod. So its looks, obviously you can see it. It is bright orange, and the wraps are kind of, I would say, maybe not bright orange. It's like a rusty, kind of, it is bright-ish, but it's definitely rusty, I guess, orange. It's not like a hot orange. It's a little darker than its case. And then it's got like blood red guide wraps, okay? And it's wrapped really well, actually. We'll go into that a little later, but it is wrapped really well. I like that it's got two-tone cork here, so that's nice. It looks nice. The cork itself does have some fill marks, so it's not the highest quality cork, but again, it's a $150 rod, so you know, if they're gonna save a little money somewhere to be able to keep that cost down, this is where I'd want it, personally. There is some fill marks, so again, not the highest quality cork, but it is well-made cork, so it has. I've been using it a lot, and there's really not a lot of pitting going on, so that's good. So the fill is good. It's good. They did a good job with the filling, and again, this is high quality cork right here on the ends. I mean, it's all pretty high quality, but again, that filling definitely means it's not to the same level that I would say some of these rod manufacturers use. Scott does some beautiful cork work, but you're paying $900 for it, okay? So I'd be happy to pay a little less, I mean, in reality, for something like this, okay? So it's really not that big a deal, and actually much nicer than other rods that I've seen in that $150 to $200 range, okay? It's faux wood, but it's nice. It's well done faux wood. It's not cheap looking junky faux wood, okay? So this is really good quality. I like it. It's nice, and I like that cherry wood a lot. Really pretty grains to it and stuff. And I say it's faux. It might be real. You know what, guys? This is real wood, I think. Ha! I said it's faux. It looked almost too nice to be real wood. A lot of times you see a lot of imperfections in this. This is really high quality, guys. Really. You know what? I never noticed that. I always thought this was faux wood. That might be real. You know, I can't tell, guys. I can't tell. I'm sorry. I'll have to double check, and I'll put it in the description section. I'll write an email, ask if it's faux or real wood. I'm sorry, guys. I should have looked that up before I did this review. I just thought I looked at it a little closer. I haven't done a whole lot of like really close inspections of this. Just basically fish with it. All right. So anyway, gunmetal components, which is nice looking. It's done really well. There is a sticker here that says "Made in China." The whole rod itself, I don't believe is, but I believe the components are. So they just never took that sticker off the components. And almost all the components now are. Almost all of them. There's very few rod companies that don't do that, just because the cost savings there. You know, those ones that don't are they're very expensive, pushing $1,000. So, you know, it would be expensive to machine all that, right? Okay, but it is double locking, which is nice. I like that. Double locking really is a good option because it helps keep the reel from slipping out. So this basically what happens with a single lock. It doesn't always happen, depends on the quality of the lock, but basically you put the rod in there, you push this up, and then you know, move this all the way up to where it's, you know, stuck there and it's not going to move back. But sometimes that can back off while you're fishing. But if you put a second one, a double lock like that, the likelihood of that backing off is very slim, because if this pushes and starts to spin, it's going to be stopped with this. It's really difficult to have that back off. So you don't really have to worry about the real falling off this, which has happened to me with other single locking reel seats. Okay, actually I'll put a video up right now. It was pretty funny. I was fighting a fish and it just popped off. So, but not this rod. It wouldn't happen with this rod. It was with a Redington, actually. And not to dock the Redington, I really like that Redington rod. It's a good rod, but it had the single, they saved money that way by doing single lock, and I think that was a mistake. So I really like that they put the double lock here. The wraps are done excellently. So the wraps here are very good quality. There's really no space in between the wraps. They really matched them up against each other very well. So not that really makes a difference in how it's going to fish, but it does make a difference in how it looks. And it also really shows the quality of the craftsmanship of whoever wrapped this, right? So they took some pride into it to make sure that they took enough time to wrap this evenly without a whole lot of spacing in between, if that makes sense. And in fact, I've got a Sage rod that is an $800 rod, a Sage Method. And it surprisingly has a couple little spots, more than this even, where they just kind of wrapped it quickly, which surprises me because that's an $800 rod. I would like it to be perfect. It doesn't really matter that much, but you know, this is a $150 rod, and they took the time. Another thing that I thought was really interesting is right here. It shows the length of the rod and the weight of the rod, so you know exactly what rod this is. So if you've got a couple pieces sitting around, you know, oh, this goes to my 9'5" weight. In case you've got this same rod and same color in a 4 weight, you know, you might not be able to tell the difference. So you can just go, oh, yep, 9'5" weight. So all the pieces have what it goes to, which I thought is nice. Another thing is it's got double stripping guide here, which is nice, and it's a very high insert. It looks to be like titanium or something. It's a high quality insert. I've seen some of these that are plastic inserts, and this is not. This is definitely metal. I want to say it's like titanium. It has to be. It just looks like titanium insert, which is not a cheap guide. Okay, so these guides are pretty high quality guides, which I like. So I touched on this a little bit, but I want to go into more depth on the casting of this. Because it's a moderate action rod, again, it's going to be slower. So when you're casting, that rod bends more into the base of the rod, into the backbone of the rod a little more. It's not just a tip flex, and it allows for you to you've got to slow down your cast a little bit more, but it allows for a little more accuracy, in my opinion. Okay, and it also allows for a little more lighter, more delicate of a presentation. So if you're dry fly fishing, it allows you to kind of get that dry fly out there and just kind of rest slowly onto the water. Versus faster action, you really got to oomph into it. You almost got to cast downward and oomph into it. You know, put oomph into it. Sorry, I'm not making sense today. Don't mind me. So another nice thing about this rod is that it comes with a nice case here, actually. And it's a triangular case, which at first I was like, wasn't quite sure about. But I actually do like it a lot. I can set it on my, I actually store all my rods in my closet, pretty up high on the shelf there. And some of the round rods will fall down. And so I put this one right in the front to keep the other rods behind it from rolling off. Because those are round cases. But a lot of these rods in the $100 to $200 range don't come with cases, but this does. And it's a very nice case. In fact, I really like this triangular feel to it. It also comes with a sock. Now, I've lost the sock that this goes to. I might not have lost it. I think it's actually in the car, but wife has the car right now, and so I couldn't find it. But this is for the Genesis. It's the same, basically the same stock in a different color, of course, different color. for this rod. But it does, comes with a sock. So this is I have an 8-weight Genesis that I use for streamers, and that's the sock that comes with it. But it comes with both a sock and a rod case. It does have a nice little pad here. It has a little spot here to put like a business card, so if you ever lose it, hopefully someone calls you and you get it back if people are honest. But pretty nice case. Has foam here to keep the rod from breaking if it bangs around. It's the same on the other side down there. And yeah, overall it's a really nice setup to have. I mean, basically it comes like this and it's all ready to go. You can just throw this in your car. The nice thing about a case is very unlikely to break a rod while it's in the case. You can bang it around. Again, I've had these fall off the top shelf, which is higher than me, in my closet, and never had an issue. Or at least the other rods, as long as they're in a case. And this is a good quality case. So, that adds to the overall construction quality, in my opinion. You're given something else. I mean, rod cases, it costs you $30, $40, sometimes $50 to buy a rod case. So that's added value to a rod. Many of the rod manufacturers don't give you a case if they're in the $100 to $200 range. In fact, TFO is one of them that doesn't. Most of the rods that you buy from them don't have a case with them. And I mean, they're good quality rods at a good price. A little more expensive than this one. I think they're the one that I used to have, which I liked a lot. Again, another moderate action rod. But they're like $180. They don't have a case with them. And yeah, so this, it's just really nice to have this. It's less expensive than most of the ones out there, and comes with more than most. So the fish fighting ability is really more about your ability to fight a fish rather than even the rods. But there is a little bit about the rod that might change your ability to fight a larger fish. So the largest fish I've ever caught on this rod was a catfish. And while it wasn't really big, it was a good size. And it actually pulled hard enough to pull my kayak. I was in a kayak. It was actually pulling my kayak all around before I was able to get it up onto the boat. So this does have some power to it. If you pull back pretty hard on a fish, and you can put some leverage on a fish. Again, it's a moderate action rod. It's not a tip heavy rod, so you're not having as much leverage as a fast action rod. But you are going to be able to put some oomph into it without worry about this rod breaking. And I was able to actually stop this fish from running, which, unless I put some pressure onto it, it would have kept on running. I would have lost it. So I was able to stop it. So it does have the ability to do that. I mean, being a 5-weight, it's not a rod that is made for heavy fish. 5-weights generally are trout rods. That's usually what they are. You want to step up to a 6, 7, or 8 if you're going to go with bigger fish. I just happened to catch a larger fish with it. And again, it wasn't super big, but it definitely put a tug on it and allowed me to see the power behind this rod. And it does have a moderate amount of power to be able to fight fish. All right, so let's move into the warranty. And this, I'm going to have this paper here, okay, because I'm going to read this off to you. This comes from their website. I also know this because I've talked to the actual owner before about this, just to make sure. And so he was able to tell me all of it. But I would like to read off what they say. So they say, if there's ever an issue with the quality or performance in the products that Risen Fly offers, we will fully reimburse the purchase price within 6 months, or replace any broken or underperforming product that is of the cause of the manufacturing during the life of the product. So if a rod breaks, no mistake to the owner, we will ship a new replacement piece immediately without cost, so you're back to fishing as soon as possible. The no-cost replacement due to manufacturer's defect is good for the first year of ownership. However, exceptions can be made on an individual basis. So basically what they're saying is, within 6 months, basically, if you break a rod, and it has to do with the manufacturing, a lot of these other companies will charge you a fee to be able to replace a rod. They call it lifetime warranty, but it's a fee to replace it. This, he's saying, there's no fee, okay? So basically, if it breaks, he will send you a brand new one. And I say he because he gives you his personal email, so you're actually talking to the owner of the company when you're doing this. He actually takes this very seriously, and so while he could have other people handle this for him, he decides that he wants to be the one to make sure and handle it, because he wants to make sure that you guys get the best quality customer service possible, especially with the warranty, because that's very, very important. You buy something, you spend money. I mean, I think it's a great deal for a rod, but still, it's $150. That's a lot of money. And so for a lot of you, it's just something that you got at Christmas, and you might maybe even 2 Christmases to be able to afford it, or this is a lot of money for a lot of people, and he knows that. It's not like those $1,000 rods that other companies make, but it is a fair amount of money. So he wants to make sure, the owner of the company wants to make sure that you guys, feel comfortable spending that money, that you're not going to feel stuck with something that you're not happy with. So he will send you a brand new one. And in fact, it says to be able to get you out shipping as soon as possible, I believe. Don't quote me on this. You might have to ask him. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this, okay? I will put in the description section exactly what it means. But I believe, if I get told that this is not right, but I believe what this means, from what I remember talking with him before. This was a couple months ago, I talked with him about it. But if it breaks, let's say you snap the tip off, and within the 6 months, and it is having to do with manufacturer, I think you send a few pictures or whatever, they'll send you the brand new rod with a box that you've put this rod in and send back to them. So you get a brand new rod. A lot of these companies, they want you to send this one first, then they evaluate it, and it can take 3 weeks, up to a month, up to a couple months sometimes. Then you're without a rod for a couple months, and you're not able to fish. He sends you it right away, so that way you're back on the water right away, okay? Now, there's the lifetime warranty as well, so it's not just up to a year, okay? This is a lifetime warranty rod, but it is limited, okay? So for normal, if any damage is done to the product due to normal wear and tear, we stand behind our products and will replace or repair any warranty claim due to these reasons for a minimal cost. So there goes the cost. You're basically going to have to pay for shipping, which he's already figured out what the shipping is. The ITB rod, this one is $30. So they will, after a year, then they charge you $30. It's a $150 rod. You send this in, they send you a new one for $30 if it's broken beyond repair. Otherwise, they will repair it. It's still $30, okay? So $30. So we stand behind our products. We'll replace or repair any warranty claim due to these reasons for a minimal cost. Such issues would be broken rod due to personal mistake, dented spool or frame in the reel. If the model is discontinued, you will actually get a credit for a certain amount towards the purchase of a new product, okay? So they stand behind their products, even the old ones that they discontinue, okay? So that's really nice. $30 is pretty minimal comparably to a lot of these other companies, and it's right on point with some other ones that are about the same amount of money. So the return policy. We accept all returns of unused products for 100% refund within 60 days of purchase. Conditions apply to underperforming products, so please contact Ryan at risenfly.com. Ryan is the owner of the company. All right, so overall rating is the last part of it. So I always give my overall rating. I don't know if you've seen the show, Whose Line Is It Anyway, but kind of how the points don't matter, right? They don't, okay? My rating doesn't matter, because what is good for me might not be good for you. What is good for you might not be good for me. Style of fishing, type of ability, or whatever. But what I will say is I have a good grasp on this because I fished it for now about a year, pretty intensively. Almost every trip I've gone out with has been with this rod, and I've used it almost every single trip. And I've got a pretty good grasp on how this rod fishes, okay? So like I said, every rod is good for specific tasks. As a trout rod, overall trout rod, I would say this is phenomenal. Don't hesitate. Go buy it. You will love it. It's definitely up there. 9 or 10 out of 10 as specifically a trout rod. It is a great rod. Okay, perfect for that. Again, a couple little blemishes and some things, like maybe not the perfect cork, but again, what you're paying for, I don't expect that, if that makes sense. So I always like to give 2 ratings, okay? So 2 ratings, one based on just the rod, okay? Forget the price. The price doesn't matter. It's the rod. You know, the fill-in pit points of the cork, you know, there is a little bit of pitting, not very much though. It's still pretty high quality. But, you know, it's not perfect. Again, I have some $800 rods that, I mean, really nice cork, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean the rest of the rod is good, but, you know, they didn't skimp on the cork or the components or anything like that. I will say I really like the components of this. The cork, though, being double two-tone cork is very nice. These little accents on it is very nice. And then, you know, added with you know, just little things where they add the rod type on the end of the wraps with each of the pieces. I mean, just little attention to detail type of things. The action of the rod, the way it casts, the way it fishes. Yeah, it's overall, I would say, of like every rod on the planet, you know, combined, if you had to, you know, I would say it's in the top 80%. So I would give it, you know, an 8 out of 10 of overall. But then again, you've got to realize that this is an expensive sport, and most of these rods that I'm comparing it with are in $300 to $800 range. There is some out there that are less, and there's Walmart brand rods which are junk. They're 1 out of 10, if that. But this is also comparing not only with really expensive and really cheap, but moderately priced rod companies as well, like Redington makes great rods for, I would say, rather inexpensive. They're still more expensive than Risen overall. But they have some decent rods in the $150 range, okay? I believe this one's better, okay, in many aspects. But for, and I actually did a review on the Classic Trout, which is very similar to this rod, maybe about 1.5 to 2 years ago. It's very similar. It's a moderate action rod, very similar in the style of rod and how it fishes. That was a 3-weight. I also had a 2-weight. But I like this better, actually. It's just a little better of a rod, actually. Not a little. It's fairly better of a rod, and it's about the same price point, okay? But overall, I would say in the price point, this is 9, maybe even 9.5 out of 10. Because it is so inexpensive comparably to the quality and the way that it's built, it's definitely in the higher end range, okay, in my opinion. So this is something that I wouldn't feel gypped if I paid $300 for, if that makes sense. So if I went to Sage or Scott or Orvis or any of these companies, and I bought this rod for $300, $400, even $500, I wouldn't feel gypped. I wouldn't feel like, oh, I got junk, basically. Like, what is their problem? Why would they charge me $300 for something that is not worth $300? With those companies, all of their rods are that expensive, and this one is as good or better than a lot of their offerings, if that makes sense. So, again, because of that, because of it being incomparably to other rods out there, price point where it is, I would say this is a definite buy. 9 or 9.5 out of 10. Nothing's perfect. Again, I keep on coming back to the cork, but it's about all I can even say negative about this rod. There's not much about it, okay? Is that, you know, the fill-in points of the cork, and that's it. It still feels really nice, okay? There's very little that I can say negative about it, and that's the point. It's $150, and there's almost nothing I can really find that I can say, oh, well, this is why it's $150. The cork, and that's about it. They saved a little money on the cork and got slightly less expensive cork. Still not crappy cork, okay? Still not junky cork. It's good quality cork. It's just not $900 rod quality, but this is not a $900 rod. So for a $150 rod, this is way better cork than that, if that makes sense. The quality of the build, the craftsmanship put into how they wrap it, the quality of this blank and how it fishes, quality of the components, everything put together is definitely worth $150, if not more. The fact that it comes with a very nice case and also a rod sock. Okay, all this, again, a different rod sock, not that same color. Sorry, guys, but all this combined, definitely, I believe, is worth way more than $150. So I would highly recommend go get it. Definitely, like I said in the beginning, use my discount code Risen has offered a discount for everyone, whoever wants to buy anything. That is my subscriber. So thank you for being my subscriber. It is my ability to be able to give back to you guys. So most of the companies that send me stuff, I get a lot of companies that send me stuff. I get rods all the time, and a lot of times I have to ship them back, or I give them away, or I sell them to a pawn shop because they're junk. Many companies send me stuff all the time, okay? I don't always review them. Risen sent me this, and I fished it, and I loved it, and I literally fish this all the time, okay? So I contacted any company that I'm gonna do anything, or I'm gonna do a review, or advertise, or do whatever with. I always ask that they can get you guys a discount, and that's what Risen did. They said, fine, okay, I'll give everyone a discount. So they offered 15% off of everything that they sell, literally anything in their shop. They sell really high quality hooks, rods, reels. Let me grab that reel. Here's their armor reel. It's their $100 reel. None of them have this paint job. They actually sent me a special one with the paint job. I thought it was pretty cool. Really nice trout paint job. High quality reel. And I'll be reviewing that at one point. It's a good reel. But they sell, you know, all types of stuff. This is their line. They sell everything, and all that is 15% off. Most of it is good. All of it is good quality. I would say their barbless hooks are some of the better hooks out there, and they're really inexpensive, crazy inexpensive for what they are, and you get 15% off on top of that as well. So just use that. It's McFly. Type it out in at checkout. So order all your stuff, put it in your cart, and then type in McFly when you're ready to check out, and you'll get that 15% off, okay? But you will definitely be very happy with this rod. So definitely recommend, if you're in the market for a moderate action rod, you will be very happy with this. Go ahead and pick it up. Let me know in the description section what you think about it if you own one, and also what you think about this review. If there's anything you'd like me to touch on, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer for you. Again, I've fished with this for a year, so I know it pretty well. But anyway, there we go. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you liked the review, and enjoy the rod. I will see you on the next video. Now you guys go catch some fish.